She tells him, "I am your slave. I will do whatever you want." It's a strange and intense conversation, but before we can figure out what's going on, her son Tyler walks into the room. "Hello, my dear family. Peace and blessings to you all. Today, I'm excited to share with you the story of one of the most popular movies from 2014, The Secret Sex Life of a Single Mom. This film is packed with drama, emotions, and life lessons that will keep you hooked from start to finish. So, grab a seat, and let's dive into this captivating tale. But before we begin, don't forget to hit the like button and show your support. Now, let's get into the movie. The story begins with a woman named Delane, who is on the phone with someone she calls Sir. She tells him, "I am your slave. I will do whatever you want." It's a strange and intense conversation, but before we can figure out what's going on, her son Tyler walks into the room. Delane quickly ends the call and heads to the kitchen to talk to her husband, Robert, who is away in another city. Robert tells her he's going to stay there for a few more days, which surprises Delane, but she doesn't think too much about it at the time. Later that night, Delane is in bed when the home phone rings. She answers it, and a woman's voice is on the other end. The woman is asking about Robert. Delane, confused, asks for the woman's name, but the caller hangs up. Delane feels uneasy and calls back, but this time, a bartender answers the phone. He tells her the woman's name is Natasha. Natasha, who is still there, tells the bartender to hang up. This makes Delane even more worried. Delane calls Robert and tells him about the call from Natasha. Robert gets very angry and says he's coming home immediately. When he arrives, they have a huge fight. Robert blames Delane for his affair, saying that if she had been more fun in bed, he wouldn't have cheated. Delane, who rarely enjoys life and often blames herself for things, forgives Robert. But deep down, she knows something is missing in their relationship. A few days later, Delane meets up with a friend. She mentions that she's been having pain in her hips. Her friend suggests she see a doctor named Graham and gives her his number. Delane decides to visit Graham's clinic. After examining her, Graham tells her that her muscles are fine and there's nothing wrong with her hips. He then asks her about her feelings, sensing that she's going through something emotionally challenging. Delane lies and says she's fine, but when she gets home, she can't stop thinking about what Graham said. A few days later, Delane goes back to Graham's clinic. This time, she opens up to him. She tells him about Robert's affair and how he doesn't love her anymore. She even shares that Robert criticizes her body, saying her breasts are too small and that's one reason he doesn't find her attractive. Robert has even suggested she get breast implants to save their marriage. Graham listens carefully and asks her if changing her body will truly make her happy. He believes that love isn't just about physical appearance but about a deep emotional connection between two people. Delane feels a sense of relief hearing this and leaves the clinic feeling hopeful. Over time, Delane and Graham grow closer. During one of her visits to the clinic, Graham kisses her. At first, Delane hesitates, but Graham convinces her to let go of her fears. They start spending more time together, meeting at hotels and sharing intimate moments. Delane feels alive in a way she hasn't in years. She confides in her friend, telling her how happy she is and that she's decided to divorce Robert. One evening, Robert comes into Delane's room and tells her he's found a great doctor for her breast implants. Delane shocks him by saying she doesn't want the surgery. She admits she's not happy in their marriage and wants a divorce. Robert becomes furious and pushes her out of the room. Devastated, Delane falls asleep on the couch. The next morning, Delane visits her friend Haley and tells her about the divorce. Haley asks how Delane plans to explain this to her kids. Delane thinks about it and eventually tells her children about her decision. Her son Tyler is upset and walks away, but her daughter Amanda supports her. Delane's happiness doesn't last long, though. She tells another friend, Sarah, about Graham. Sarah is shocked and reveals that Graham is already cheating on Delane with another woman, who is 3 months pregnant. Delane is heartbroken. She rushes to Graham's clinic to confront him. Graham admits it's true, saying he was planning to tell her. Delane feels completely shattered. To cope with her pain, Delane goes shopping with a friend. Her friend notices how sad she is and suggests she try online dating. Delane thinks it's a great idea and creates a profile. As a woman, she quickly receives messages from several men. This boosts her confidence, and she starts feeling happy again. She tells Haley about her plan to pick one of the 43 men she's been chatting with and go on a date. She goes to a restaurant for a date, but the guy doesn't show up. Feeling disappointed, Delane heads back home. Later, she checks her email and finds a message from a man named Duke. The email says, "I am Duke, and I like women who are strong and confident but also enjoy being submissive and giving themselves to me. If you are like this or want to be like this, please reach out to me." At first, Delane laughs at the message, but it also makes her think. She's intrigued by Duke's words and decides to call him the next day. Duke tells her that he can help her become strong both in her body and her emotions so that no one can take advantage of her or hurt her. He promises to help her gain confidence and take charge of her life whenever she wants. His words deeply affect Delane, and she shares this conversation with her friend Haley. The next evening, Delane sends her kids to stay with her ex-husband, Robert, so she can have some time to herself. She calls Duke, and he gives her a strange but empowering task. He asks her to stand in front of a mirror and repeat the things he says. At first, Delane hesitates, but she decides to give it a try. As she starts repeating Duke's words, she begins to feel more attractive and confident. Then, Duke tells her to go to the window and remove all her clothes. Delane thinks this is odd and says no, but Duke insists. He explains that women have a special ability to connect with men without worrying about what others think. He asks her to repeat the sentence, "Not all men deserve my attention, and the ones who do need to show me why." Delane follows his instructions, standing in front of the window, repeating the words, and feeling a newfound sense of confidence. The next day, Duke encourages Delane to go on another date. She goes out with Peyton, and they're having a good time at a restaurant when Robert unexpectedly shows up. He's surprised to see Delane with another man and asks to meet her the next day. When they meet, Robert is upset and jealous. He asks Delane if she's planning to bring all her dates around their kids and how that will affect their upbringing. Delane stands her ground, telling Robert that she can date whoever she wants and that it doesn't make her a bad mom. She asks him not to tell her how to raise their kids and then leaves him standing outside her house. Later, while cleaning her kitchen, Delane calls Duke and tells him about the encounter with Robert. Duke listens and gives her another task. He tells her to go to an adult nightclub. Delane isn't comfortable going alone, so she invites Peyton to join her. They have a great time together, and Delane feels in control of the situation. The next day, she has dinner with Peyton, and he mentions wanting to meet her kids. This makes Delane uneasy, and she tells him she's not ready for that yet. After dinner, Delane checks her email and sees a picture of Duke. She's struck by how handsome he is and decides to visit him. She tells Haley about her plan and asks Robert to take care of the kids while she's away. The next day, Delane travels to Duke's house. His home is incredibly luxurious, and she's impressed by his wealth. When she arrives, Duke isn't there, but he calls her and tells her to wait for him. When Duke finally arrives, he gives Delane a fancy outfit and asks her to change in front of him. Delane feels a bit uncomfortable but does as he says because she can't bring herself to defy him. After changing, they go to a restaurant and have a deep conversation. Delane asks Duke how his control over her is different from Robert's. Duke explains that Robert used her for his own gain, but Delane enjoys the control Duke has over her because it makes her feel empowered. After dinner, they return to Duke's house. Duke starts working on his laptop, but Delane begins to touch him and drop hints. Duke stops her, saying she has to follow his orders until he tells her otherwise. This makes Delane feel a bit uneasy and left out, but she waits patiently. Over time, she becomes more and more attracted to Duke. After an hour, Duke finally tells her to go to the bedroom, and they spend the night together. For the next week, Delane stays with Duke. They discuss work during the day and have fun at night. Delane feels more confident and believes she's learned what she needed from Duke. She returns home, starts her own business, and even lands her first client. One day, she calls Robert and invites him over to help the kids with their Christmas decorations. Robert apologizes to Delane, admitting he feels bad about how things ended between them. Delane forgives him, and they share a moment of closure. A few days later, it's Amanda's birthday, Delane's daughter. Robert and his girlfriend are invited to the party, and everyone has a great time. After the party, Robert takes the kids to his house, and Delane is left alone at home. As the movie ends, we see Delane flirting with a man on the phone, showing how far she's come in her journey of self-discovery and empowerment. So, my dear family, what do you think of Delane's journey? Have you ever faced a situation where you had to rediscover your confidence and independence? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories like this. Until next time, peace and love to you all.